Hello, everybody. This is William Diaz Jr., Mr. Cable, coming to you with another episode of Small Business Saturdays. In our episode today, we're going to talk a little bit more on our wonderful world of marketing. In our last episode, we talked briefly about the difference between marketing and sales. This episode, we're going to dive a little bit more into marketing, and our very next episode, we're going to dive a little bit more into sales. So in this episode, we're going to talk about three different things: demographics. The next part is going to be advertising. And then finally, we're going to talk about return on investment. So when we think about demographics, what a demographic is who you want to sell to. All right? So when we're thinking about marketing, we have to think of who our ideal customer is. Now, all in all, we all say, well, anybody that has money to buy a product, that's my ideal customer. Now, we love to think that, and we love to think that it's true, but if we're trying to reach somebody, it's a lot easier to yell, "Hey, you with the red shirt, come buy my product," rather than saying, "Hey, everybody, come buy my product." If you say, "Hey, everybody, buy my product," the chances are no one will listen. But if you say, "Hey, you," to the guy in the red shirt, then the lady who's wearing the red shirt may turn around. The guy who's wearing the burgundy shirt may turn around. But let's get a little bit more specific. So in demographics, there's three main categories. One is going to be B2G, one is going to be B2B, and the last one is going to be B2C. Well, B2G simply means business to government. B2B simply means business to business. And then B2C finally means business to consumer. Well, if you're going business to government, that means you sell your goods or services to the government. If you're going B2B, that means you sell your goods and services to another business. And finally, B2C means you sell your goods or service to an actual consumer. Now, I'd like for you to just go with me for a little while, and we're going to talk about Mr. Baker. We've been focusing a lot about our baker with his specialty cakes. In our last episode, I talked about if he looks at the low-hanging fruit, then he would never get a contract from a company like Goldman Sachs, who's looking for a long history of somebody who made specialty cakes. So let's imagine now that he does and has made specialty cakes for the last 10 years. Right? Well, with that, that means that he can sell to B2Bs. His business can sell to other businesses like Goldman Sachs. He can also sell B2C, and he's going to be looking for people with disposable incomes. Right? Finally, you're going to see that the chances are he won't really sell B2G. Now, you might say, why? Well, when you're dealing with the government and other entities that are dealing with taxpayers' money, for them, it's not just about the best value. Most times, it's going to be the best value for the lowest cost. Well, and that's the case, then they're going to look to say, well, we need a cake that's going to feed 100 people, and it meets this certain criteria. Well, our specialty baker, unless he's looking to get his name out, may decide that that may not be the perfect customer for him. So that's what ends up happening with a lot of specialty people that make things like our baker. They do not do B2G. So, like we said, we're going to focus on the B2C segment for just a moment. And we could dive down a little bit more, whittle down a little bit more into exactly what we're looking for. Well, we're looking for a male or female. Our age, like you might say, well, age doesn't matter. Anyone who enjoys delicious cakes. Not true. We need someone who's of age to purchase a delicious cake, which means somebody needs to be working age. Well, our cakes, like we mentioned, are expensive. So we need somebody who's of working age that has the disposable income to be able to afford our cakes. Well, the per capita income in the U.S. is about $60,000 per household. So that means that if someone makes about $60,000, the chances are that they won't have disposable income to buy my expensive cake. If they make $70,000 or $80,000 or higher, there's a good chance that they'll be able to have some disposable income for my cakes. What does that mean? That means that where I advertise was going to be different than if I was advertising towards a general public that had a regular per capita income, or if I was trying to influence someone else to get someone to buy the cake. For instance, if I was trying to influence a child to get their parents to buy one of my cakes, then I would advertise to the children. So now let's dive a little bit into advertising now that we've broached the subject. Well, advertising is actually what our vehicle that we're going to use to get our message out. So advertising for us, our specialty baker, could be something like a tasting. And a tasting would be simply us setting up a nice cake at a venue, and that venue could be a bridal venue. It could be a open tasting at our own shop. And basically they're going to come in, taste our delicacies, taste our cakes, and that's going to let them know the level of our quality as well as see some of our beauty. When this all happens, this actually moves us into our last segment, which is the return on investment. We're going to hold off from getting in there just a moment. Now, while we're in advertising, we can do a couple of other things. We can do social media marketing, right? We can advertise on the internet. That could be pictures about our cakes, our fondues, and things of that nature. We can also do simple things like branding, right? We can do advertising on a mug, right? Advertising on a shirt, advertising on banners or flags. All of these branding-like objects also have to do with advertising as well. Lastly, we're going to just hit the return on investment. Now, everything that I've talked about all costs money, right? The advertising dollar that we spend is about 11% for all industries. I'm in the construction industry. It's about 13% for mine. But our baker is in a retail industry, so it's about 8% for him. So we're going to use his number because that's who we've been focusing on for most of the time. Well, Mr. Baker, if his spend is 8%, that means that for every dollar earned, 8 cents of it is going to go towards marketing. Now, let's take that tasting for a moment. He opens his shop. He has his baker come in. His baker works for 8 hours. He bakes some wonderful cakes. He has them ready for 50 people to come in to taste them. He had to pay for the baker. He had to pay for all the materials, the lights, gas, and electric, all to make his shop run while this is happening. And he has to pay for his own time to be there as the baker was baking and then for everybody to have their tasting. All of that money, all of that work and time cost money. Let's say just for ease of purpose that it costs $1,000. Well, if I tell you that that baker needs 8% and he spent $1,000, that means that that is about 10% of what he's gonna have to make to get that back. That means that if he spent $1,000, he needs to make $10,000 to get that back, right? And for him to be at 8%, it needs to make approximately $12,000 to get that $1,000 back. Now, with his return on investment being about 8%, if his return on investment is higher than the average, that means that he's not using the best return on investment. If it's lower, that means he's using a great return on investment. So again, what a return on investment is that you spend money with the idea that your advertising dollar is going to bring in some money. Unfortunately, you have to spend it first, but we're always going to look forward to bring in that dollar. Again, this is William Diaz, and this was another episode of Small Business Saturdays. In this episode, we just learned about marketing and the 3 parts of it. And once again, those 3 parts are advertising, demographics, and return on investment. I look forward to seeing you next week.